Hey Marty, are you wearing a sweater and a coat in your house? Why yes, I am. Thanks for asking. Hello! Welcome to today's new video. It is another stash busting video where I am just using up my fabric because I don't have space for it. It's a problem. But today we are making a button-up shirt. I do plan on making a more detailed button-up shirt video, and when I do, I'll put it in the card here. So we are set up for speed sewing today, which means that we just have the top-down view, so I'll try to explain things the best that I can. But to start, I am laying out all of my fabric nice and neat, as well as folding it in half to make sure that I get all of the pieces cut out as efficiently as possible. I wasn't worried about the fabric shifting because it's a quilting cotton and it just doesn't shift much. It's not like a silky solid or a satin finish, which would do that. So once I have all that all laid out, I pulled out my shirt block pattern and I put that on top, weighed it down with my wonderful water bottle, and cut it out on the fold. I also did the swoopy thing at the bottom because I wanted it to have the look and appearance of a nice fitted dress shirt, and it's just easier to keep things tucked in if they're longer in the back. Then I went ahead and used the same block shirt pattern to cut out the sleeves. I wanted them to be a shorter sleeve versus a longer sleeve because I wanted it to be more like a vintagey look versus like an Edwardian look, and so the way that I'm building my wardrobes, that's just how it works. Then I went ahead and cut out the two pieces that I needed for the collar. I firmly believe that you should never waste fabric, and so if you are uncomfortable putting things as close together as I do, that's totally understandable. I just don't like wasting fabric, so I use every inch of it I can. After the collar was cut out, I went ahead and cut out the cuff that would go along the bottom of the sleeves because we are making puff sleeves. My inner Anne of Green Gables is so happy about this prospect of puff sleeves. After everything was cut out, I went ahead and put my pattern away so I wouldn't lose any of the pieces, and then we get to start assembling things. So I started with the front and back of the shirt, and I sewed those shoulder seams together because I wanted to get the collar set in before I did anything else. Then it's time to make the collar. I knew I wanted it to be a nice structured collar, so I went ahead and sewed around the edges of the top collar piece and then interfaced one side. Probably should have done that in the reverse order, but it worked the same. After the interfacing was put on, I went ahead and clipped those corners so that way I would get nice, pretty points when I turned the upper collar. I used the scissors as a point turner just to make sure that those corners were nice and sharp. Alternatively, you can use an actual point turner or a hair stick. I usually prefer the hair stick over the scissors. And once it was turned, I went ahead and pressed it so it was nice and flat. Now it's time to add on the lower piece of the collar. So I folded everything in half so I knew where my middle points were, and then I pinned them together. So I sandwiched the upper collar piece in between the two lower collar pieces, just to make sure that everything was nice and neat and it was controlled, and it turned out really nice. Guys, it's snowing! Oh, I'm so excited about the snow. Once everything was pinned together, I went ahead and sewed it down. And after it was sewed down, I clipped all of the curves in preparation to turn and press, just like we did with the upper collar. So before we could sew on the collar piece, we had to add the button placket to the center front. So that's what I was just cutting out. Then I sewed the right side of the button placket to the wrong side of the shirt. This will make sense, I promise. After I was done sewing, I went ahead and pressed that button placket out and then turned the raw edge of the button placket under by about 1/2 inch and pressed that down. Once that was all stabilized with lots of pressing and intense heat, I top stitched it. So then I have a nice clean edge. Once I had done that to both sides of the center front, I went ahead and sewed in the collar, starting at the center back and pinning to the front. And the same thing with the placket, I pinned it to the wrong side of the shirt. After I had sewed the initial collar on, I went ahead and clipped it once again to make sure that edging didn't bunch at all as I tried to sew it together, and it would lay nice and flat and look how I wanted it to. Then, same as the button placket, I folded the edge in by about 1/2 inch and pressed it down really well to prepare it for being sewn down. Next, it's the sleeves. Getting the sleeves done, then we're done with the project. I'm putting in a placket similar to what you see on men's dress shirts, right at the, whatever that's called, right there. I'm not really going to describe this step because it's hard to see what I'm doing with the top-down camera, and it wouldn't make sense to explain what I'm doing without the actual visual, so yeah. Just enjoy this montage of me putting in a placket. Once the placket had been put in, I went ahead and sewed that underarm seam together and pressed it flat. Then, because I neglected to do it beforehand, I sewed the side seams of the shirt together in preparation to put the sleeve into the arm side. In hindsight, I could have just put the sleeve on and then sewed that as one continuous seam because that's how men's shirts are typically made. That would have been easier. It would have saved a step or two. Once I had set the sleeve into the arm side, I went ahead and sewed it down. I did have to end up putting some pleats in the shoulder here to give it a little bit of a poof and also to make it fit nicely. Not upset about it. Actually gives it a really nice look. Plus, I love puff sleeves. Just call me Carrots. I will accept my fate. I will dream of being Cordelia and wear puff sleeves and actually have brown auburnish hair, which is what Anne always dreamed of. So just call me Cordelia then. Once the sleeve had been set into the arm side and sewed down, the next step was to gather the bottom of the sleeve so it would fit nicely into the cuff that I had cut out. Same as with everything else, I pinned it to the wrong side of the fabric to start. Mimicking all of the steps, I pressed it nice and flat and then pressed the raw edge under exactly where I would want it to be when I sewed it, and then sewed it down. And then I put a 3/8 inch hem on the bottom of the entire shirt just to finish that edge. After that, it was time for the buttons and buttonholes, and then we have a finished shirt. I really like the material of this project because it's sewing themed, and I think it turned out so cute. I definitely want to make more like tailored fitted shirts, and I will probably do a video of how I fit this shirt to me with some waist shaping as well as darts in the future. When I do, I will definitely link the videos for you. Thanks for sticking around. I will see you next Monday. Bye guys. I just want to curl up in a ball and snuggle with Joe and all my blankets.